Okay, check 1, 2. It's mic level output. Does the press corps want to go ahead and check and see if you've got the mic level output? check 1, 2. Everybody's looking good. She's going in for something. Everybody's trying to get. Who are you with? CBS. Check 1, 2.
Hi, everybody. I've just received word that Mayor Breed is running a little later than expected, so she asked that we get started, and she'll join us along the way. And now that Kate Hartley's here, it can all start. So that's my invitation to come sit in these seats. If you're a speaker and don't mind coming towards the front, that would be fantastic. Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, thank you. Rebecca, you're up here. Shireen, Chris. Yes, is that okay? Yeah, Sam, great. Shireen, you're gonna. Shireen, you're up. Any order? Just wherever you'd like. Yep, yep. Hey, Barbara Gualco, could you come to the front for 1 second? Oh, there you are. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks so much for coming. Hopefully you're as impressed with this building as I am. I do a lot of building openings. Oh, I should just say, I'm Doug Shoemaker. I'm the president of Mercy Housing California. I feel like you're all family, so I'm just going to launch right in. But we're on because of COVID, we're on this very strange schedule where we didn't do a lot of building openings or groundbreakings for a while, and then suddenly we have one seemingly like every other week, and which is a great thing. But you know, certain buildings really stand out, and this building is just so, I mean, I just want to thank everybody everybody who worked on making this building possible. It's just so magnificent to see, and I really appreciate it. So a quick round of applause for the building. I'm going to thank people individually in a minute. Mayor Breed, as I mentioned, is running a little bit late, but she'll be joining us in a second. And Supervisor Haney, Assemblymember-elect Haney, unfortunately couldn't make it today. But we have a great speaking roster, and it's folks who are really intimately involved with making this building possible. So this is a very unique building, as you're going to hear about. Although it operates like many other permanent supportive housing communities that we work on with Episcopal Community Services, how it came together is really quite different, and the partnership, the public-private philanthropic partnership that made this happen is unlike anything Mercy's ever been a part of. And so I just want to say from the start how much we appreciate having been invited into this work by all the partners you're going to hear from today. My new closest colleague, who I seem to talk to with great regularity and who I have incredible respect for and no envy, is Shireen McSpadden, who runs the city's homeless and supportive housing division, department, whatever it is. It's one of the most massive and important jobs in the city, and she deserves our thanks and our never-ending gratitude for taking this on. And with that, I give you Shireen McSpadden.
Doug, thank you so much, and thank you for your partnership. I just want to say how exciting it is to have a very, very positive news story this week. And I want to start by thanking the new residents of the Tahanan. This is a beautiful building, and it shows what we can do when we come together as partners. And the partners in this particular building, it's just a massive undertaking. It's a massive number of partners and really exciting innovation. So I just want to thank Mercy Housing, San Francisco Housing Accelerator Fund, Tipping Point Community, City Community Capital, Episcopal Community Services, and all of the number of other supporters who came together to make this happen. Again, I want to thank the residents who chose to live here, and I want to thank the staff at HSH, at the Department of Housing and, the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing, for the hard work they did to make this happen as well. This really shows what we can do if we come together. This shows the best of San Francisco. We are innovative. We care deeply about the core issues that affect us in the city. And, this is something that hopefully we can replicate, maybe not exactly like this, but really the important thing is that we came together as partners, and we can do that to create other like housing opportunities for people. As of today, 147 residents now call this building home. So I just want to thank all of you for, really for me being able to be part of this process, and I'm very excited to see us do some other projects together. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Shireen. I as a former city employee, I always feel like there should be a requirement for the media that they publish the number of people that have been off the street due to the great work that's happening in San Francisco, at the same time as they acknowledge things that are a struggle, because there are struggles here in the city, but the number of people that have exited homelessness through the work of HSH and partners all around, it's just an extraordinary number, and I wish it got a little bit more attention than the harder stuff, but obviously that's my little wishful thinking for the day. So, all right, on that note, my next person to introduce is Rebecca Foster from the San Francisco Housing Accelerator Fund. I think, like many of you, I met Rebecca when she was just conceiving of the idea of the Housing Accelerator Fund, was talking about it. We were like, what is this thing gonna be? I have almost never seen an organization have such a meteoric impact on public policy as the Housing Accelerator Fund, and it's just a tribute to Rebecca and Kate and the whole team, and so happy that you invited us to join this, and please come up and say a few words.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Director McSpadden. Good morning, everyone, and special good morning, especially to the residents of Tahanan. Welcome home to this beautiful building today and every day. I have the awesome honor to lead a scrappy and unbelievably hardworking team of affordable housers at the Housing Accelerator Fund, sitting here in the front row. And as Doug said, the city helped design and launch what we call the HAF in 2017 to explore and implement solutions to our most challenging housing delivery problems. we came together with Tipping Point in 2018 around one of these deeply frustrating problems. We know that supportive housing is one of the most effective ways to end chronic homelessness. And yet, we were severely short on the affordable units needed to serve our residents. Not only that, but supportive housing took so long and cost so much to build that it seemed impossible to hope that we would ever be able to connect many residents to the supportive, affordable homes where they could thrive. We have all together been part of the hand-wringing and analysis about the layers of regulatory burden and the complexities in financing affordable housing that result in projects costing upwards of $700,000 a unit and taking over 7 years to build on a good day. What we haven't had is the living, breathing proof that there is a better way. 3 years ago, where we're standing this morning, where you're sitting this morning, was a parking lot zoned for light industrial use. The fact that we are now looking at a 145-unit, beautiful and permanently affordable building, came from so many of the amazing people here today being both fed up and deeply committed and optimistic. Our team's collective North Star was that we could and we must construct quality, affordable housing in under 3 years and for less than $400,000 a home. The path from parking lot to Tahanan took a lot of elbow grease and creativity. We utilized new tools like SB 35 and 100% union modular construction built here in the Bay Area to expedite the process. We leveraged philanthropic capital to do what it does best, catalyze bold solutions. And we created a model where our public dollars could be used as efficiently as possible once they came in post-construction. As a result of our incredible speed and cost effectiveness, we were competitive at a time when many projects in San Francisco have not been for a tax credit investment of over $21 million for this project, alongside the $34 million in bond proceeds. Our cost savings and financing approach gives our city some very critical wins. First, the city didn't have to invest a dime in the construction of this building until after it was fully occupied with residents. No site acquisition, pre-development, or construction risk. Second, the city will pay less than $1,000 per unit per month to cover the capital costs of this brand new building, less than the city pays for many master leases for SROs. But here, we're ensuring permanent affordability and quality homes with best-in-class nonprofit management from Mercy and services with Episcopal Community Services. We all know how critical it is to have a home that feels like a home. At Tahanan, we are able to provide amenities like this sunny courtyard, private bathrooms, elevators, at the same cost to the city as older buildings without those amenities. Third, permanent affordability. Mercy owns this building, and in 30 years, the half will also transfer the ownership of this land over to the city. And finally, because of our speed and financing success, 2 months after we issued the bonds for this project, we were able to dedicate over $20 million of that philanthropic capital revolved out of Tahanan, plus another $60 million of HAF's capital to secure the city's first 2 home key hotel acquisitions. True and lasting innovation isn't just about ideas. We have a lot of those in San Francisco. True innovation requires pairing the belief that there can be a better way with the perseverance and the grit required to make it real. There are a lot of parking lots in the city that could look like this in less than 3 years. We're ready to buy one of them. Delivering quality homes in under 3 years and for less than $400,000 a unit is not a fantasy. We all did this. It won't be a failure of imagination if we stop here. We don't need to imagine this anymore. We can touch and feel it. It will be a failure of grit. We need more quality and cost-effective homes like these, and we need to be building them now. It is past time to roll up our sleeves and do this again. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to try and bring up the energy level from there. You can see why Mercy didn't really have a choice. Like once Tipping Point and Rebecca and the Half said like 3 years, $400,000, we're like, yes, yes, yes. Whether we believed it at the outset or not, we believed it within a very short period of time. And that brings us to Tipping Point. They need, I think, very little introduction in this crowd, but they're obviously having a huge impact on a wide range of critical social issues in San Francisco. Sam Cobbs is here, the CEO of Tipping Point. He's been involved since the very outset and has a long track record of work on other great and important social change items. And I also just want to thank Daniel Lurie, who was involved with this from the very outset, along with the rest of the Tipping Point team. It's been an incredible opportunity to work with you, and I hope we'll get to do it again. So Sam Cobbs.
Hello, and we've done quite a few of these over the last as we've opened back up, and it feels like I'm always between you hearing from the mayor. And so I'm going to cut my comments a little bit brief today so that we can hear from our mayor, London Breed. First, I want to thank Doug, as I'm thrilled to be here today for the opening of Tahanan. This is a big day. The only day to me that was bigger than this was when Andrea and Rebecca sent me pictures of the residents receiving their keys, which I actually think are codes, to get into their place when people moved in here. And I also have to start by saying a huge thank you, because none of this would be possible without the incredible generosity of Charles and Helen Schwab. It was their $50 million gift that Tipping Point was able to dream about doing things differently, to say no to the traditional roadblocks and say yes to working as quickly and efficiently as possible for our unhoused neighbors. Thank you to the Schwabs. Thank you to Katie, who's here today, and Matt Page, to Aaron Gilbert and Chris Nelson at the Schwab Foundation. This is a testament to your commitment to the city. To Tipping Point's founder, board chair, and my friend Daniel Lurie, who brought all of the right people to the table like nobody else could. Thank you for your convening power and for being willing to, as always, go big. I also want to thank Tipping Point's Community Advisory Board. These are a group of people who were put together to advise us on not only the design and what the amenities that this building should have, but also across our chronic homeless initiative. And so they are led by Andrea Evans and staff person Myra, but this wouldn't be possible, and the way residents feel about it wouldn't be possible without their input. There's an organization that says there should be nothing without us. And if we're building housing and designing programs in our cities without the input of the people who are ultimately going to utilize them, then we're doing a huge disservice to ourselves. To our partners, many of you who are sitting alongside me today, thank you for your collaboration, expertise, and forging your new way. You will probably hear from her next. I also want to thank our mayor, who is pulling every lever at her disposal to help people exiting homelessness in our city. I remember calling the mayor and said, hey, we got a roadblock. And we had a brief conversation, and she couldn't totally remove that roadblock, but she changed that roadblock to a short obstacle, and it only delayed us for about 3 weeks or so. So thank you, Mayor, for your, not just your leadership, but your constant activity on this project. Now, it wasn't an easy road to this day, but at Tipping Point, we believe that philanthropy can act as a catalyst for transformative change. And that's what we did. We used private philanthropic dollars to act quickly and flexibly. We've done that with this development and across other investments to cut chronic homelessness in San Francisco, because it takes a continuum of services to provide the right level of support to the right people at the right time. Now, myself and my team have had the opportunity to connect with a few of the folks who call the Tahanan home. And we'll have the privilege to hear from them in a bit. But all you need to do is spend 2 minutes with some of the residents to understand that this isn't just a roof over their heads. This is a community. This is their home. The 147 people who have lived in cars, under bridges, and shelters for years now have the safety of 4 walls and a door, the comfort of a warm bed, a bathroom, and a kitchen to cook breakfast. But not just those tangible things. They get to come home to something that is beautiful. I've always said that people respond to the expectations of their surroundings around them. If you build dark, drab, and dirty places, that's how people will respond. If you build things with love and care and intentionality, that is also how people will respond. Now, as Shireen said, I know some of us have seen the articles in the Chronicle, and it is heartbreaking. But in the same way that I get to stand up here on some level, take credit for what was Daniel's and Rebecca's vision, we're also dealing with things that our predecessors have left us behind. And there has been a disinvestment or a lack of investment from our city over decades for the residents who are suffering on our streets. And we're not going to fix that overnight. But with buildings and with partners like this, we can actually move it forward quickly and efficiently. And eventually, we don't want to stand here where Tahanan is the shining example of what is possible. We want to stand here because it is what is being done all over the city to house our neighbors. At Tipping Point, with the faith of Charles and Helen, we put in the philanthropic capital, we've de-risked it. We've shown that it can be done. We didn't do it just to show that it could be done. We did it because we wanted others to come behind us and not just follow in our footsteps, but to improve on what it is that we've done. And so that's what innovation is about, and that's what Tipping Point is about. I'm so thrilled to see the new residents here today. I wish them lots of health, happiness, and good times. And for those of you who are living here, who have left your friends out on the street, what I'm going to continue to do and push with you is that this, again, is not just one sample, but that we're doing this over and over and over again until this becomes the rule and not the exception. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sam. I just want to say, for our part, we also, I think, have learned a lot from the approach that the HAF and Tipping Point brought to this project. So, if imitation is a fine form of flattery, I'll just say we've imitated you already. Mercy went out after this experience of just seeing how impressive it was to be able to buy land differently and take things on. We just capitalized our first sort of privately financed land acquisition fund throughout the state of California. It's $47 million. We'll be buying land throughout the state, hopefully at the same pace that the HAF and Tipping Point have demonstrated. And again, with the same thought process, learning from what we learned here and trying to implement that throughout the state of California. And I'll just say we've already gotten 6 or 7 calls from local governments and other developers saying, hey, can we imitate that? And so I think it is rippling, and hopefully it will lead to a change across the industry and the work that we do. All right, so with that, okay. All right, so with that, it is my pleasure. She needs no introduction. Hopefully she's getting to do this with great regularity. The hardest working mayor in America, London Breed.
Well, I will say that I have been doing a number of groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings for affordable housing in San Francisco this past week, and I can't wait until all of these properties come online. But it's always really special to show up to a place where residents have already had the opportunity to move in. And I can't be more grateful, especially to Tipping Point. And I remember when I was on the Board of Supervisors and Daniel did come to me with this project. And he had talked about, because I was asking him for a lot of other things, and he's like, well, I gotta raise the money to get this building done. And I remember I kept pressuring you to help support what I wanted to do, specifically in District 5, but you were determined to make this project happen. And I know it must feel absolutely wonderful to be here today and to see Sam help to carry it over the finish line, because it was a lot of challenges, a lot of heartache in the process. Here in San Francisco, when I first became mayor, I set a clear goal. And that goal looked at all of the money we were spending to help support people who were unhoused, and also look at the services, the issues, the challenges, and we put together a homeless recovery plan that's targeted some of our need to provide supportive housing like this site. So about 2 years ago, we looked at whether or not we invested in this type of housing. Yes, we build affordable housing. We're not necessarily building it at the rate that we should, but we set a goal to add 1,500 units of new permanently supportive housing to our portfolio, which is the largest expansion in 20 years. And not only today have we met that goal, but this year we will exceed that goal with 1,000 units in the pipeline. So we're talking about 2,500 new units of permanently supportive housing in our portfolio. So it's not just about housing someone, it's about providing the services and the resources that people need in order to stay housed, in order to stay healthy, in order to get the services that they need to live a life that is thriving and a life that they can enjoy. And that's what we are trying to do every day with the work that we do in the City and County of San Francisco. But it is the City and County of San Francisco. It is a bureaucratic structure. It does take a whole long time to even talk about whether or not we keep a Ferris wheel in Golden Gate Park, or just conversations about things that involve city government, sadly, sometimes get in the way of its own desire to help people. And the fact that this project came together because it started with a vision from Tipping Point of wanting to do more and to partner with us. These public-private partnerships have been so critical to the success of these projects, but also working with the Accelerator Fund to provide the seed money and to move this project forward using modular construction. We would have not been able, this project would not probably even have broken ground by now had we gone through our typical city structure to make it happen. Not only did this project break ground, but the construction continued throughout the pandemic because we understood the importance of getting this housing built, getting these doors open, because we're talking about people's lives who unfortunately were struggling on our streets. I don't think there's anyone in this city who doesn't want to see people who are out there struggling, housed in a good situation, in a place to call home where they can take care of themselves. And what we have had to do in San Francisco is adapt to the reality of the challenges that is not one size fits all. It is not just putting a roof over someone's head or offering someone housing. It's looking at the entire person and the challenges that could be mental health or substance use disorder or even loneliness from missing family and friends. There's so many different things we all have had to struggle and deal with during this pandemic, and so we can empathize with the challenges that exist, which makes housing like this so much more important. So I'm grateful, and I'm grateful that, Doug and I do this a lot. And Doug used to work for the Mayor's Office of Housing when I was an intern. Yes, I'm way younger than you, Doug. well, maybe I was working as a staff person at that time, and I know his passion is this work, and so when he went over to work at Mercy Housing, I couldn't be more thrilled because I knew he knew what it meant to deal with the challenges of the city, but also how to be an effective partner in getting these projects done and supporting the community that we want to serve. And so having these extraordinary partners, the philanthropic partners, the various organizations, it really does take a village. And the village that came together to make this happen, 145 units with 147 residents, is just something that everybody here can be so very proud that this city has been able to produce because of the amazing people that want to see good things happen for other people's lives. And I couldn't be more honored to be mayor and to serve in this capacity when we're making magic happen. So thank you all so much for being here, and I look forward to more projects like this to come, so let's get busy.
I just want to say I have no memory of Mayor Breed as an intern. I only have memory of Mayor Breed in various positions of responsibility, making sure I did my job as well as she imagined I could. But no, in all seriousness, she's an amazing mayor. We're really blessed. I was telling someone earlier, like, you know, for all that we wring our hands in San Francisco about, you know, what is occasionally hard, or not occasionally, but hard, about San Francisco, it is honestly the best place where Mercy Housing can do its work because of the tremendous public policy support from elected officials on down. In other communities, in fact, when I first started working in San Francisco, we didn't know whether we would get projects entitled, whether we would get permits to get them built. And the change in the politics in San Francisco, which is so unlike almost anywhere else in the United States and certainly in California, where you never doubt the project is going to get permitted. There are other obstacles, but the political support and the financial support here is just tremendous. So again, thank you, Mayor Breed, for all that and all that great work. All right, I have a few things I just want to call out some folks that are in the audience before I introduce my friend Richard. So this project, as you heard, is a modular project, very unique. Unfortunately, the two principals from Factory OS, which did so much work on this, couldn't be here today, or the three. Larry, Kevin, and Rick are here in spirit, but Ryan Kelly Cahill is somewhere in the audience. So Ryan, if you haven't heard of Factory OS, go take a visit. They're doing something very special over there on Mare Island in Vallejo, something that we hope is really going to change the way construction, particularly of affordable housing, works in the United States, and particularly here in the Bay Area. So thank you, Ryan, and the Factory OS team. They braved it out through COVID. I think it was one of the more extraordinary efforts there, running a factory in the middle of a pandemic, and so please send our thanks to Larry and team for that. Our architect, David Baker, who many of you know, this is a beautiful building. David and team, I'm sorry, thank you, David, for reminding me. I don't have the notes on everyone on the team, but David, thank you and your team for the fantastic work. Our contractor, Cahill Contractors, done a lot of work for us over the years. I saw Guy Estes earlier. Ryan and Arash from that team. The Mercy team that worked on this, an incredible team. Sharon, I don't think is here today. No, but for those of you that don't know, Sharon Christian carried this project on her back. She is one of the most talented project managers you'll ever meet and one of the hardest working and most devoted people. She's moved on to go at another job for the city. So our loss is your gain, Mayor Breed. But Sharon and team, Simon, Fiona, and others, Kenny, who's the project manager here, is a tremendous steward of this. So many thanks to everyone who worked on this particular development. So, you know, this development has a number of different innovations, and one of them was on the financing side. And whenever you're going to try and do something different in the world of affordable housing finance or any kind of finance, you need to really pick the right partners, because everybody will tell you they can do something up until the moment that they tell you that they can't. And so I think together we chose a fantastic partner in Citi, who's done a lot of work with Mercy over the years, and I've known Richard for some of his 40 years in this industry. He's a tremendous talent, and when he wants to get something done, he's a tremendous mover and shaker of that work. And so Richard Gurwitz, I invite you to the podium to talk a little bit about this project.
I really don't generally like following mayors, to be clear. And I do want to say, just off script here a little bit, that we get a chance at the city to work all across the country. Every year we work in 30 or 40 states. We're working in the largest cities in the country. And quite frankly, as bureaucratic and difficult as you might think the city of San Francisco is, this is the most innovative project. And the city, I have found, that is paying more attention to this problem and this issue that we all have to confront as a society than any other city in the country. So you really have a good reason to be proud of what's going on here in San Francisco. It is difficult, but at least you have a partner who's willing to work with you and get to the point where you can produce a building like this. I'll also say that Rebecca said everything. So I really don't need to say very much, but I will anyway because I have written this and it's going to take me some time. But as long as I've been in the business, and it has been a long time, doing this type of work, there's nothing quite as gratifying as being at a groundbreaking, or in this particular case, even better, at a ribbon cutting. It's incredibly gratifying to be here. It might take us several months. It generally takes several years. I think we were together on this one, Rebecca, for at least 18 months, working to get to the point where we were able to finance it. But we all have to put together what really is a puzzle of an affordable housing project. When they build something in downtown San Francisco that's a conventional real estate project, it is very simple, quite frankly. It is debt and it is equity. When you're doing an affordable housing project like this, you're moving government entities, you're putting multiple funding sources together. It's incredibly challenging, and it takes a real set of dedicated, mission-driven people who can get it done. But even when we're working on it, it's really quite abstract. So being here in front of this, being able to talk to a few of the people who are actually occupying it makes it particularly special. I was talking to someone in Denver, Doug, just a couple of weeks ago who actually was retiring, Steve Spear, who actually used to be at Cal HFA, and I think a lot of people know Cal HFA. And he told me that the second leader of Mercy, Sister Lillian, once told him that, or she had a saying at least, that once you've seen one Mercy project, you've seen one Mercy project. And in other words, each project and financing is so unique that really doing one doesn't necessarily help you on the next one. Now, I hope that's not the case here because we really learned some incredible things in doing this. But it was, as Rebecca said, it was really very different from the way, in terms of the way it was financed. From the use of philanthropic dollars, from tipping point, to the placement of long-term debt in the public markets using a long-term lease with the city of San Francisco, to the use of modular construction. So everything about it was different. There's a problem we have been facing that we've yet to solve in financing and building these units. How do we keep costs down so we could use those very precious dollars and get them to go as far as possible? And how do we do it more quickly? Tahanan and I quite frankly, I know this is 833 Bryant, so this is a new name for me, made a little dent in those problems and hope in terms of cost and speed, and all those unique features brought the cost per unit down significantly and allowed the tenants who are here to occupy their units even that much more quickly. So I hope we can learn from that and perhaps repeat a little bit of what we learned on this project on subsequent projects. It's also my job to tell you how great the city is, by the way. So I'm going to tell you that we had a lot of roles in this project. We were the construction lender, we were the low-income housing tax credit investor, and we also structured and placed the long-term bonds. Those are an unusual set of roles for us. Interestingly, we were also an early investor in Factory OS, and we really support Factory OS's plan to their whole program of trying to develop building housing faster and less expensive. And I agree with Doug. If you can get up and see the factory, it's one of the most interesting and exciting things you can possibly do. So I really encourage you to do it. And I do want to thank a couple of people who are here. Alex Zaman, Deborah Saunders from our public finance group, Jonathan Bloom, who was our public finance, ran the low-income housing tax credit side, but clearly it was a team effort, and I can't say enough about Rebecca and Kate and what they brought to this project, and the people over at Tipping Point and Homes for the Homeless Fund. Sharon Kristen, who did literally carry this on her back, from what I could say, and Barbara Gualco over at Mercy, who worked so hard to make this a success, and the folks in the San Francisco Office of Public Finance, the Mayor's Office of Housing, and the City Attorney's Office, and also, as I recall, Gigi Whitley putting a lot of effort on this to make sure that we got this done. It was a real team effort, and we're really pleased to be a part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard, and I especially appreciate you managed to thank a couple of people I'd forgotten, so I'm really, thank you for that on top of that. So, yeah, I will say we do have this horrible saying in Mercy Housing that you've seen one Mercy Housing property, you've seen one Mercy Housing property, but we're out to change that. So the other invitation from this that I will just say is I know together we've talked about doing another building and really trying to build from this exact design as opposed to starting with a wholly new design for the property. So that parking lot that Rebecca's talking about, we'll hopefully have a building that looks a lot like this with maybe a little bit different on the outside, but inside very similar. And Mercy's actually done this as well with 3 partners in LA with 3 other nonprofits that we work with in Factory OS. We've created a kind of standardized permanent supportive housing unit plan and building plan. And we're building 5 replica buildings that are exactly the same across 3 different developers in the city of LA to kind of demonstrate, I think, what you said, Richard, and what we started here in San Francisco is the power of trying to reproduce something that works well like this. So hopefully in a couple years, Richard, you'll say, you've seen one Mercy building, you've seen them all. So, or maybe not, but all right. Enough on that. All right. So one of the things that I think makes our work easier in San Francisco is the incredible partnership that we have both at HSH and with Mercy specifically with Episcopal Community Services. So when we were asked to consider working on this project, or we invited to work on this project, one of the first things we said was, well, we'd love to work on it and we'd love to have Episcopal Community Services be the service provider because they are really top in class at this work. I'm pleased to introduce Chris Calandrio, who's the Chief Program Officer for our great partner at ECF. Hope I didn't butcher your name.
No, that's great. Good afternoon, almost. Beth Stokes, our Executive Director, is on your program. She sends her regrets. She was not able to join us this morning. I'm Chris Calandrillo, the Chief Program Officer for ECS. We want to thank Mayor Breed for her commitment to our unhoused neighbors and the ongoing commitment to permanent supportive housing. Housing is the solution to homelessness, and the services that we provide allow people to sustain their housing ongoing. So it's really important. We also want to thank everyone on the panel. Mercy Housing, the Housing Accelerator Fund, Tipping Point, the Mayor's Office, HSH, and all of the other partners that made this possible. It's pretty amazing. We also want to thank Mercy Housing for their longtime collaboration. We work in many different buildings together, and we'll be opening a new building that's also modular design this summer at 1064 Mission Street. We'll be welcoming 256 folks home to that new building. Modular is a new successful building mode, and thank you, Rebecca. You were very articulate in describing the value of it, so thank you. The services we bring include substance use support, mental health support, and everyday support. One of the stories that I have as a housing case manager, a resident asked me to help him fold a fitted sheet. Something so simple, but if you can't do it, and you've never seen anybody do it, it's a joy, and we get to have those daily joys with people. And because of the support of the city and because of the support of these partnerships, we have the privilege of moving into the future with the residents that are here and working with them every day. So we appreciate everyone, and we appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this. Thank you.
Okay, we've saved the best for last. Sorry to the rest of the speakers. Naya Rashad is around the corner, and she is one of the new residents here. I just had a brief chance to meet her. She's a self-taught children's writer from Memphis, Tennessee, but she tells me she's traveled many parts of the U.S., lived in New York and various other locations before here. Come on up, Naya. And she is, so I'll just say that. She identifies as gender nonconforming, and her work in children's stories is centered around showing readers the superpower of being yourself. And my mom is a children's librarian, so I couldn't be happier than to introduce another children's writer, Naya. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I start my speech, I want to put into context that my story is one of many in this building. The essay that I wrote is called "You Are Enough Along the Way." I left my career and hometown in 2020 to find my art here in San Francisco. And yes, I'm one of those artists. September 2020 was the peak of the pandemic, and I didn't even know what my art was. Before the Tahanan, my journey was rocky. I experienced street homelessness, a shelter stay, and an SRO. And if you don't know what an SRO is, you're gonna learn something today. At every step along the way, what I have learned is to remain rooted in gratitude. What do you have to be grateful for when you stay in a shelter? Well, if you're me, it was the beach. When we weren't meeting with housing reps, my partner and I would play at the beach all day before going back to the shelter to sleep at night. I believe it was that gratitude that was a window into my next opportunity. During a time where all of the helpless were full, I was given priority as a veteran when an SRO, that is a 100 square foot single room occupancy, opened up. With a place to live, the question that brought me here returned: what is my art? What do I want to do with my life? And what do you do with an abundance of time to live your dreams? If you're me, the question will overwhelm you at first. You may spend some weeks, months, days trying to avoid it, but eventually you will remember how to have fun. When I remembered how to have fun, a thought came to me. I want to be a children's writer. What's stopping me? Well, I thought it was my 100 square feet. So I insisted to my case manager, I can't focus here. I am a writer, and a writer needs space to write. So he advocated for me to move into the Tahanan. When you hear low-income housing, you don't think of the Tahanan. I remember circling this building when it was still in construction, chanting, "This is fancy." It felt like a dream to me that I was going to pay less than $200 a month to stay in a place like this. My first few months here, I would push the dining table in front of the window to get myself to accept the fact that I have a view now. Gratitude to me means seeing limitless possibilities wherever you are. At the Tahanan, I'm especially grateful for the table that I have dubbed my office space, where I create things that make me smile. From that very space, I wrote this speech and launched my YouTube channel, We Say Nay-A's Read and Play, this week. In less than 2 years after having moved to San Francisco, I find myself at the Tahanan, realizing I was enough the entire time. And that dreaming doesn't stop. When one goal is realized, I find myself dreaming bigger. So no matter where we find ourselves along the way, I invite us into gratitude right now for the step that we stand on. It is, and so have we always been, enough. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Naya. Today's a little bit unusual in that we're not able to offer a full building tour. So you'll be able to tour the ground floor, but for COVID safety reasons, we're not doing a tour of the entire building. I also want to thank Monica Young, who I always forget to thank. They do a great job on all these events. So Monica, you're here somewhere. Thank you very much. We're going to do a ribbon cutting with the speakers right after this. But I just want to end with a prayer that we have at Mercy Housing. I'm unused to saying the word prayer. I'm not a deeply religious person necessarily, but I find that this particular one really resonates with me, and it's resonated at Mercy Housing for many years. And I think for those of us that have worked on this project, it's going to make a lot of sense in this context. So, may you have discomfort at easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships so that you will live deep in your heart. May you have anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people on earth, and courageous wisdom to work for justice, equity, and peace. May you have compassion for those who suffer, moving you to reach out your hand in comfort and support. And may you have the foolishness to think that you can make a difference in the world, a foolishness that empowers you to do the things which others say cannot be done. So thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see many more of these buildings to come.